Tai Lung is one of those characters people think they understand in a second. He's angry, powerful, bitter, dangerous, the fallen prodigy, the cautionary tale, the guy who couldn't handle being told no. That's the simple version, but the simple version is comfortable, and comfortable stories usually hide the sharpest truth. Because Tai Lung's story isn't really about arrogance. It's about what happens when someone builds your identity for you, fills your head with destiny, trains you to chase one outcome, and then goes quiet the moment it all falls apart. That kind of damage doesn't look dramatic at first. It looks disciplined, impressive even. It looks like hard work. It looks like loyalty. It looks like a kid doing everything he can to become the person he was told he was supposed to be. And that's why his story hits so hard. Tai Lung didn't begin as a villain. He began as a child left at the doorstep, with no explanation, no history, no voice in the matter. Just a cub waiting for someone else to decide what he meant, whether he was worth keeping, whether he was worth loving. And Shifu did keep him. More than that, he raised him, trained him, loved him in his own way. But that love came with a story attached to it, and that story would shape everything. Tai Lung wasn't just cared for, he was chosen. He was told he was special, destined, meant for greatness. That sounds beautiful when you're young. It sounds like belonging. It sounds like finally being seen. But there's a poison hidden inside that kind of praise, especially when it comes from the person whose approval becomes your whole sky. Because once someone tells you who you're meant to be, you stop asking whether that life is even yours. You just start running toward it with everything you have. And Tai Lung did. He trained harder than anyone. He mastered every form, every movement, every expectation placed in front of him. He didn't drift. He didn't rebel. He didn't waste his gifts. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. That's what makes this so painful. He wasn't reckless in the beginning. He was obedient. There's something deeply human in that. A lot of people know what it feels like to become excellent at something before they ever stop to ask whether they even wanted it. You get good grades because somebody told you that's what good kids do. You pursue the respectable career because that's what success is supposed to look like. You become reliable, driven, polished, useful. You build yourself like a resume for love. And for a while, it works. People praise you. They point at you like proof that effort means something. They say, "Look at you. Look how far you've come. Look what you're becoming." But here's the part nobody says out loud. When your identity is built on earning approval, success never feels like freedom. It feels like rent, something you have to keep paying so nobody changes their mind about you. That's Tai Lung. He doesn't train because Kung Fu fulfills him. He trains because it keeps him connected to the love that saved him. It keeps him worthy in the eyes of the man who raised him. Every strike, every sacrifice, every painful step forward becomes part of the same silent prayer. Tell me I matter. Tell me I'm still the one. Tell me all of this means something. That's why the Dragon Scroll matters so much. Not because it's a shiny reward. Not because it's some trophy for being the best. For Tai Lung, the scroll is proof. Proof that the years meant something. Proof that the promises were real. Proof that the love he built his whole life around was not conditional after all. He's not reaching for glory. He's reaching for confirmation. And then, at the defining moment of his life, he doesn't get clarity. He gets silence. That's the wound. Not just Oogway saying no. Not even the refusal itself. It's the silence from Shifu, the one person who should have stepped in, the one person who helped build this entire future in Tai Lung's mind. The person who shaped him, praised him, pushed him, and pointed him toward that moment for years. When the floor drops out from under Tai Lung, Shifu says nothing. That silence says more than any rejection could. It tells him, all at once, that the man who filled his head with dreams will not stand beside him when those dreams collapse. That the person who helped create this need will not help carry its consequences. That the child who spent his life becoming what he was told to become is suddenly alone with the wreckage. And once you see it like that, the anger lands differently. It doesn't excuse what Tai Lung does next. He hurts people. He unleashes violence. He becomes terrifying. That matters. The destruction is real. The harm is real. But if we stop there, we miss the tragedy. We turn a catastrophe into a morality play because it's easier than admitting how often people are shaped into breakdowns they later get punished for. That's the uncomfortable part of his story. The same people who helped make him could step back and call him the problem once he broke. How often does that happen in real life? A child gets told they're gifted, exceptional, destined, and everybody loves the shine of that story while it's producing results. As long as the child performs, everyone feels good. The parents feel successful. But when that same person collapses under the pressure, when the cracks finally show, suddenly everyone acts shocked by what they helped build. Now, the story changes. Now, they're difficult, entitled, unstable, too sensitive. They couldn't handle disappointment. That kind of rewriting is brutal. It protects the system by isolating the person it shaped. Tai Lung becomes the monster, and once that happens, nobody has to sit with the question underneath all of it. What exactly was done to him in the name of greatness? Because greatness is not always a gift. Sometimes it's a leash with elegant branding. Sometimes being the chosen one really means being trapped inside someone else's unfinished dream. And Shifu carries more responsibility than the story likes to admit. He isn't just a grieving mentor who loved too deeply. He is, in a very real sense, the architect of Tai Lung's collapse. Every promise, every expectation, every push toward a destiny that was never his to guarantee, all of it built the cage long before the prison cell did. That's why Tai Lung's rage feels so personal. He isn't just mad at losing. He's furious at the possibility that his whole life was arranged around an illusion. Furious that the person who told him who he was can now hide behind. It wasn't my decision. Imagine hearing that after giving someone your entire life. Imagine being shaped around a finish line, only to discover the people cheering you on were never the ones who had the power to let you cross it. That would break something in almost anybody. And that's why wasted potential is such a misleading phrase. We use it like it means laziness, like it means someone had gifts and just didn't apply themselves, like it's a story about not trying hard enough. But real wasted potential often looks nothing like that. Sometimes wasted potential is a person who tried so hard they forgot how to hear themselves think. A person who poured years into becoming impressive, disciplined, useful, accomplished, all while drifting further away from their actual self. A person who did everything right and still ended up empty because the path they devoted themselves to was never really theirs. That kind of waste is more devastating because it doesn't come with obvious failure. It comes with achievements that don't save you. It comes with medals, promotions, degrees, praise, and a private sense that something is deeply wrong. It comes with waking up one day and realizing you built a version of yourself designed to be approved of, not inhabited. Tai Lung is devastating because he embodies that collapse in its most violent form. He isn't talent wasted by laziness. He's talent consumed by expectation. And then the story twists the knife. After 20 years in a cell, after all the rage and pain and obsession, after tearing through everyone in his path to reach the one thing he thinks will finally justify his existence, Tai Lung gets the scroll. He opens it, and it's blank. That moment is one of the cruelest in any animated film because of what it reveals. Not just to him, but to us. There is no secret ingredient, no hidden technique, no external source of worth waiting at the end of the grind. The thing he built his life around was never going to transform him into someone real, because he was never missing the thing he thought it would give him. For Po, that revelation becomes freedom. Po can laugh. Po can accept the absurdity of it. He sees his reflection and understands that the power was never in the scroll. It was in bringing yourself fully into what you do. It was in believing that who you are is not a mistake waiting to be corrected by achievement. But Po can accept that because he wasn't built in the same furnace. He wasn't raised to believe one title would prove his worth. He wasn't trained to base his whole identity on an outcome someone else promised him. So when the answer turns out to be internal instead of external, it opens something in him. For Tai Lung, it destroys him. Because if the scroll is blank, then there was never a prize. There was never going to be a final moment where all the pain made sense. No grand validation, no sacred stamp that says yes, all of this mattered, and now you are enough. That is not a liberating realization for someone like Tai Lung. It is annihilating. It means he was enough the whole time, but nobody taught him how to believe that. It means he spent his life chasing proof for a question that should never have been outsourced in the first place. It means the people who formed him handed him the hunger, but never the language to survive without the reward. Look at that from his perspective, and the tragedy becomes unbearable. He isn't staring at nothing. He's staring at the ruins of a life organized around a promise that never existed. That's why he can't let go. And honestly, a lot of people can't. Because letting go is not just moving on. Sometimes letting go means admitting that the thing you gave your youth to was never going to love you back. That the career, the approval, the image, the finish line, the gold star, the dream somebody planted in you when you were too young to question it, none of it was going to resolve the ache underneath. Sometimes anger feels easier than grieving that. Anger is active. It gives you shape. It gives you energy. It lets you feel powerful instead of abandoned. But anger also keeps you chained to the wound. It makes you loyal to the very thing that broke you. You keep circling the same betrayal, the same fantasy, the same old promise, hoping that if you just push harder this time, you'll finally get what should have been yours. That's what makes Tai Lung so haunting. Even at the end, he's still reaching, still trying to take hold of the thing that was never going to save him. He's not free. He's just still in orbit around the same unmet need. And maybe that's the real warning in his story. Not that ambition is dangerous, not that rejection turns people evil, but that a person can understand the truth and still not be able to live it. You can see the emptiness of the promise and still not know who you are without it. You can realize the rules were unfair, the expectations were borrowed, the love was conditional, the finish line was fake, and still feel completely unable to step away. That's what makes this hit so close for so many people. A lot of us have our own blank scroll. The thing we thought would explain everything once we got there. The relationship that would finally make us feel chosen. The success that would make the suffering look worth it. The version of ourselves we've been postponing our life for. And then one day you get close enough to see it clearly, and it's blank too. No thunder, no transformation, no magical permission slip to become a person. Just you. That can feel terrifying. But it can also be the beginning of something honest. Because blank does not only mean empty, blank can also mean open. It can mean unwritten. It can mean no one gets to define this for you anymore. That's the fork in the road Tai Lung never gets to take. He sees the blankness as proof that nothing matters. But there's another way to see it. As proof that no external object was ever going to author your life. That no title, no praise, no chosen status, no inherited dream can tell you who you are with any real authority. That part has to come from somewhere deeper, quieter, more terrifyingly personal. You have to write it, not all at once, not with perfect confidence, not with some cinematic burst of self-belief. Usually it starts much smaller than that. It starts when you stop asking what will make you impressive and start asking what feels true. It starts when you notice how much of your life has been performance. It starts when you let yourself grieve the years spent chasing approval without turning that grief into your whole identity. That grief matters. It deserves to be felt. Some people really did lose years to expectations that were never fair. Some people were handed roles before they developed a self. Some people worked relentlessly toward promises nobody could actually keep. Pretending that didn't hurt doesn't heal anything. But neither does living there forever. The tragedy of Tai Lung is not just that he was failed, it's that he could never become anyone beyond the failure. He could not imagine a self outside the wound, outside the destiny, outside the need to be confirmed by the very structure that ruined him. You still can. That's why his story hurts, but also why it matters. It forces you to ask a brutal question. Are you chasing something because it's yours, or because someone taught you that earning it was the same thing as being lovable? Are you building a life, or just defending an identity you inherited? Are you growing, or are you still trying to prove something to a version of yourself that was scared of being left behind? Those questions aren't comfortable. They're not supposed to be, but they can save you years. Because wasted potential isn't always about what you failed to do. Sometimes it's about who you never got the chance to become while you were busy becoming what was expected. Sometimes the deepest loss is not falling short of greatness. It's never meeting the person underneath the performance. Tai Lung never gets that chance. That's what makes his story so sad. Under all the rage, all the power, all the damage, there's still that abandoned child who wanted one thing more than anything else, for the promise to be real. But maybe that's why his story stays with people, because a lot of us know that feeling. Maybe not at his scale, maybe not with his violence, but emotionally, absolutely. The hunger to be told your effort meant something. The fear that if the dream collapses, so do you. The quiet panic of realizing nobody is coming to hand you the meaning you've been waiting for. And maybe the only mature response to that is this: grieve it, then begin. Begin without the promise. Begin without the title. Begin without certainty. Begin without waiting for the scroll to say something it was never going to say, because your life does not start when someone confirms you. It starts when you stop needing them to. Maybe that sounds too simple. It isn't. It's brutal. It takes time. It takes honesty. It takes letting parts of yourself die so something more real can live. But it is possible, and that's the difference. Tai Lung reached the blank scroll and saw nothing. You can reach your own and see space. Space to choose. Space to rebuild. Space to become someone no one else scripted. That isn't small. That isn't settling. That isn't what happens after the real prize disappears. That is the real prize.